Millionaire leaves his safe open to trap his maid, but her reaction left him in tears. The safe stood open in the middle of the study, its steel door wide like a silent mouth waiting to be fed. Bundles of cash lay inside, neatly stacked, glowing under the soft chandelier light. For the first time in years, the millionaire's heart was racing, not from fear of loss, but from expectation. He had left it open on purpose. Today, he believed, the truth would finally reveal itself. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of integrity, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that touch the heart. Armand Khalid had built his empire from nothing. A childhood spent in cramped rooms and borrowed shoes had hardened him early, and success only sharpened that edge. He trusted numbers, contracts, and systems, but never people. Betrayal had followed him at every stage of his climb, a business partner who vanished with profits, relatives who appeared only when his name hit the news, and employees who smiled politely while quietly stealing. Over time, suspicion became his armor. In his mansion overlooking the city, cameras watched every corner, alarms guarded every door, and yet Armand still felt unsafe. Because no system could protect him from disappointment, the maid had arrived 2 years ago, recommended by an agency that promised background checks and guarantees. Her name was Saima. She was quiet, almost invisible, moving through the massive house with gentle footsteps and downcast eyes. She never lingered, never asked questions, never took more than she was given. Armand barely noticed her at first, except for the way the house felt calmer when she was around. Rooms seemed warmer, plants healthier, and even the silence felt less heavy. Still, in his mind, kindness was just another disguise people wore before showing their true intentions. The idea of the test had come to him after a long night of reading reports about internal theft in one of his companies. He convinced himself it was logical, even necessary. If Saima was like the others, the temptation would expose her. If she failed, he would finally be right again. He disabled the camera in the study, unlocked the safe, and left the door wide open before heading out, telling himself this was not cruelty but caution. Saima entered the study later that afternoon to dust the shelves. The room felt different immediately. The air was tense, almost heavy. Her eyes fell on the open safe, and she froze. The money inside could have erased years of struggle in a single moment. It could have paid her debts, treated her sick mother properly, secured a future for her young son who waited every evening for a return. For a brief second, her hands trembled, not with greed, but with fear. Life had taught her how dangerous shortcuts could be. She stood there for a long time, the cloth still in her hand. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of stepping closer, Saima quietly closed the safe door. She locked it, carefully, as if protecting something fragile. She searched for a piece of paper, wrote a short note in her simple handwriting, and placed it on the desk. Then she returned to her work, wiping surfaces with even more care than usual, her face pale but resolved. When Armand returned home, his confidence was sharp, almost eager. He went straight to the study, already preparing himself for disappointment. But the sight that greeted him stopped him cold. The safe was closed. Locked. On the desk lay a folded paper. His chest tightened as he opened it, expecting excuses or lies. Instead, he found words that felt like a mirror held up to his soul. The note explained that the safe had been open and that she had locked it to keep it safe. It said that temptation was a test not of wealth, but of character. It mentioned that she had lost her husband to dishonesty years ago, and that she would rather remain poor than teach her son that stealing was survival. The final line was not a demand or a plea. It was a quiet hope that trust, once broken so many times, could still be rebuilt. Armand sat down slowly, the note shaking in his hand. Something inside him cracked open, a place he had kept sealed for decades. All the traps he had set in life, all the walls he had built, suddenly felt small and cruel. He realized that while he had been testing her, she had been unknowingly testing him, and he had failed. Tears came before he could stop them, hot and heavy, blurring the expensive furniture around him. For the first time in years, the richest man in the room felt utterly poor. That evening, Armand changed. Not with grand speeches or dramatic gestures, but with humility. He arranged proper medical care for Saima's mother, increased her salary quietly, and set up an education fund for her son without ever mentioning the safe again. More importantly, he began to let go of his obsession with suspicion. He started listening to his employees, treating them as humans instead of potential thieves. Trust did not come easily, but it came honestly. Simon noticed the changes too. The house felt lighter, and so did her heart. She continued her work with the same dedication, never knowing that her simple act of integrity had healed a wound money never could. In a world where everyone expected the worst, she had chosen to be better, and in doing so, had changed a man who thought himself beyond saving. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that honesty still matters and that quiet goodness can change lives, please take a moment now to like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Before we end, we have a special request for you. Comment below with one word that describes what this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. Armand would later say that the open safe taught him the greatest lesson of his life, that true wealth is not what you lock away, but what you learn to trust again. And sometimes, the people we test end up testing us back, revealing not their character, but our own.